Hi everyone, and welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this very simple wool beanie using Roving wool yarn. And for this project, I'm going to be using size 5 chunky wool yarn. And this is Roving wool, and it's roughly 115 yards. And the color is Orchid. And for this project, we're going to be working with a size K or 10.5 or 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. And this pattern does have a precursor video, and that is my how to crochet a beanie brim. And for that precursor video, which I will link to in the description, I crocheted a brim that is 4 stitches wide and roughly 18 inches long. And I went ahead and joined the 2 edges of my brim like I showed you how to do in that precursor video. And I also sectioned off my brim into 4 equal parts. I also turned my brim inside out. And so for the first row of our beanie, we are going to chain 1. And then our goal is to get 60 single crochets around our first row here. And so what you're going to try to do is get 15 single crochets in each of the 4 sections. And since you don't have any traditional stitches, you're just going to need to work in the available loops along the edge of your brim for your single crochet stitches. And I am going to work over my tail, but you certainly don't have to. But if you want to, go ahead and insert your crochet hook in your loop. Then you're going to drape your tail over your crochet hook like this. And all we're going to do is just work over it. So we're going to yarn over and pull up through the tail in the loop, and then yarn over and drop our 2 loops. And we're just going to repeat that until we have made our tail disappear in our stitches. So just like this. So go ahead and place your 60 single crochets by placing 15 in each of your sections until you get to the end of your row. And try to space your stitches as evenly as you can. And once you have your 60 single crochets, it should look something like this. And from here, we're going to skip our chain 1 altogether, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of our first single crochet stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch in our row. And that does include this first stitch where we placed our slip stitch. And again, we are going to skip our slip stitch and our chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our first single crochet stitch. Then we're going to chain 2, and we are going to skip the stitch where we placed our slip stitch, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet in the back loop only of our next 3 stitches. And then working backwards, we're going to place 1 double crochet back in that same stitch where we placed our slip stitch, and we're going to place it in the back loop only. So right here. And when you go to pull up your yarn, make sure you keep it nice and loose and that you pull it all the way up so that your crochet hook comes to the top of your stitch here. Then you're just going to yarn over and drop your 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop your remaining 2 loops. And from here, we're going to skip our very next stitch. And this is not the stitch that we've already worked in right here, but the next stitch. And we're going to place 1 double crochet in our next 3 stitches. And this is for placing your cable stitch, so that's what we're creating here. And once you have your 3 double crochets in the back loop only, Then returning to our skipped stitch right here, we're going to place a double crochet in that back loop. And again, we're just going to pull this all the way up so that our crochet hook is sort of parallel with our stitches. Then we're going to yarn over and drop our 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop our remaining 2 loops. And so that is it. You're just going to repeat that pattern for placing your cable stitch going all the way around your row. And don't forget to be working in the back loops only. And again, at the end of our row, we are going to skip our slip stitch and our chain 2, and we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our first double crochet stitch. And from here, we're just going to repeat these last 2 rows over and over to build the body of our beanie. So we're going to chain 1 and place 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch in our row. And that does include that first stitch where we placed our slip stitch, and then we're going to place our cable stitches. And every row of cable stitches should have 15 cables. So go ahead and follow that pattern to build the body of your beanie. And don't forget that you're working every row in the back loop only. And that will give it this nice sort of rope-like look right here. I went ahead and crocheted 5 rows of my cable stitch single crochet sections, and I ended on a row of cable stitches. And so we're going to begin our first row of decreasing by chaining 1, and then we're going to place 1 single crochet in the back loop only of our first 2 stitches. And again, working in the back loop only, we're going to single crochet the 3rd and the 4th stitch together. So to do that, insert your crochet hook up underneath the back loop only of your 3rd stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then up under the back loop only of your 4th stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then yarn over and drop the 3 loops on your crochet hook. And we're just going to repeat that pattern going all the way around our row. And at the end of our row, we're going to skip our slip stitch and our chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet stitch. And we're going to chain 1 and place 1 single crochet in the back loop only of our first stitch. Then we're going to single crochet together the 2nd and the 3rd stitch. And we're just going to repeat that going all the way around our row, and when we get done, we should have a total of 30 single crochet stitches. And again, we are going to skip our slip stitch in our chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into our first single crochet stitch. And the pattern for this row is just going to be to single crochet 2 stitches together at a time. And at the end of our row, we should have 15 single crochet stitches. And from here, we are going to start single crocheting 3 stitches together. So to do that, insert your crochet hook in the back loop only of your first stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then up under your 2nd stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then up under your 3rd stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then yarn over and drop all 4 loops on your crochet hook. And again, this is done in the back loop only. So go ahead and repeat that going all the way around your row. And once your hole is very, very small, then you're just going to slip stitch into one of the stitches on the opposite side of that hole. And you can do this as many times as you think is necessary. And from here, we're just going to cut and tie off our yarn. And I am going to tuck my tail onto the inside of my beanie and use it as an anchor for a pom-pom. And I will link in the description to my DIY pom-pom maker. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.